Hey, welcome. This is Brian Jupp. Welcome to the SAI Marketing Podcast. It is a beautiful Saturday, December 13th, and just coming off a fantastic week. We've only got a couple more weeks left for the fiscal year, so we're really trying to kind of bang it hard and do well, come up with some good numbers. And we're on track to beat last year's numbers, which is good. So I'm excited about that. Not by a bunch, maybe 10%, but hey, anything's good, right? Just thankful for the end of the year. Health is good, business is great, family, all that. So no complaints on my end, and not that you tuned in to hear that. So what are we going to talk about today on this marketing podcast? What am I going to be able to divulge and offer to you that's going to help you with your business? Today we're going to go through a couple listener Q&As. They're going to talk about their businesses and the problems they're having. We're going to try to solve it. And then we're going to talk about local buying, like buy local versus macro or global, and how that kind of helps your local economy, and people realize that. So to lean in on that, how it's working in certain areas. We're going to talk a little about an example of social media marketing and how you can gain a different population or an age group, if you like, depending upon how you. It's basically about fishing. I always talk about fishing analogies. So if you fish in certain kind of waters, you're going to catch certain kind of fish, especially if you have the right bait, right? And then we'll get into some local trends about the economy. And then that should pretty much be it. That should podcast episode. First one, listener Q&A. Let's get right out there, shall we? So Terry, he or she, I don't know, it's kind of hard to figure out with a name like that, let's just say they, right? Has a tint shop in Los Angeles, and they bought it off their parents 10 years ago. We work by word of mouth. Business is down 60%. I don't know what to do. Please help. Okay. All right. Very good, Terry. He, she, Terry. Thanks for writing in. I can speak pretty well due to experience in the local economy about Los Angeles, because I kind of share that demo with Orange County. So my clients kind of live and reside and work in the same area. And Los Angeles isn't really experiencing a recession by my front of the lines experience right now. So Terry, I don't think your problem is economic per se. You probably have some new businesses in the area or there's older businesses that are just getting better at marketing, and they're kind of keeping an eye on what's going on, and they're just becoming more powerful. Maybe it's an AI thing with them, and they're just able to utilize those extra strengths, if you will, and flex that muscle. But let's not guess. Let's just assume that you potentially could be doing a better job at retaining and getting your current clients to give you more referrals, because that's kind of how you've been doing it. It sounds like for a while, because you said you work by referral, by word of mouth, you said. And then secondly, I don't see anything about advertising. Congrats for running the business off from your parents 10 years ago in the last 10 years. But I think at this point, because maybe the new competition and or you haven't been kind of, adapting, that it's a simple fix. And that simple fix is ding, 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 advertising. And I'll tell you right now, referrals are nice, but most businesses need to advertise to prime the pump a little bit, to get the needle moving, to kind of, just a little bit, maybe just for 10 or 20% of your clientele. So I would go high intent. I would probably do Google Maps, and I'd maybe consider Yelp for your kind of business, because those are people that generally have more money. They need the service, and they're not just tire kicking or whatever. And your dollars will go directly towards people that are looking to do it kind of now. There are other things that a tint shop can do. I've got friends right here in the complex that have a tint shop as well. But I'll tell you, and we talk all the time, but I think this is probably a pretty easy fix, Terry. I think if you do a little bit of advertising, and what do I mean by advertising? I mean maybe $50 a day, nothing too crazy. $50 a day, what is that? $1,000 a month if you go 5 days per week, 20-day months, and that should be plenty. $1,000, that's 1.5, 2 jobs, right? And actually, you didn't say if you did automotive and or residential. So if it's residential, that's probably 1 job or less. If that's automotive, that's a couple jobs. So you're right there, right? So that's an easy fix, Jerry. Hopefully that helps out. And let's get on to number 2. Hi, my name is Fred. I have a plumbing company with my brother in Oklahoma. We do okay, but what are some things we can do to bump revenue? Okay. All right, Fred, good enough. I'm looking to 2026 and want to at least 30% growth. Right now, we mostly do residential plumbing issues like water heaters, clogged drains, etc. Okay, thanks for writing in, Fred. Fred, I'm going to be very frank. And I could say, Fred, I'm going to be very Fred, but I'd rather be frank on this one, not Fred. You said we do residential plumbing issues like water heaters and clogged drains, etc. So if those are kind of small paying jobs, if you don't mind me saying. Yeah, a water heater will bring a little bit of money, but that's mostly for the equipment, and then you don't make a high margin on water heaters, I don't believe. I have some friends that have plumbing companies, and I kind of know how they make their money. I mean, I have multi-million-dollar plumbing operations with just 2 or 3 guys. So I know pretty much how they do it. And water heaters and clogged drains, it's a great way to start out. If you're starting to kind of mature with your business, Fred, I'm going to be frank here again. And I would say stop bottom feeding. You can't catch the big fish if you're fishing with your bait for guppies. In other words, you're fishing for clogged drains. How are you going to catch the repipes? AKA the whales. I recommend that you turn your needle a little bit on your marketing and you start marketing for repipes because they're high margin. They're usually pretty quick and easy. I know I've been a recipient of, I think, at least one, and there's good margin in it, and plumbers love repipes. Number 2, I would probably think about commercial contracts. That's regular recurring revenue every month. Yeah, you might get called out, you or your staff, in all hours of the night, but you are also guaranteed money. And I don't know how old you are, Fred, and how hard you want to work. Commercial contracts are a great way for a plumbing business to just kick some ass. And then number 3, new construction. New building or tear downs, remodels. There's good money in that. There really is. And a lot of guys like to do new construction. So between the 3 of those, even if you just leaned in on one, chances are you're going to potentially get that 30% growth, especially if you're just freaking fishing for guppies, like I said, with water heaters, clogged drains like that, man. There's just, you can make a living off of it, but that's just not, there's not that much meat on the bone with those kind of services. So if you don't mind me saying, Fred. But anyway, thank you for writing in. I appreciate you. And let's move on down the line. So what's been happening this week? There's been a movement in a certain part of the country in Texas where the Chamber of Commerce kind of pushed for local business to market for buy here. Use local, buy local. Texas, if you don't know, is a very prideful state to begin with. They kind of want to be their own country to begin with. In a lot of ways, they are. They're very unique. They're very different. They're very. It's a very strong state. Their GDP is bigger than some countries. In the world. I was going to say the United States. So this buy local idea, I believe it's in West Texas, and it's actually gaining ground. And I think, especially now with China and all these other countries that, we bought from China forever, Japan, Taiwan, and there's nothing wrong with some of our stuff being made there, but we really need to have, I talk about manufacturing, but even services, we really need to kind of spend as much as we can with the United States, especially local business. And I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, if you've got a local coffee shop and it's Dave's Coffee and Whiskey, which I would love to go there, by the way, morning and night. I can go there, or I'm going to go to a nationwide chain like Starbucks or whatever, or Pete's Coffee. Starbucks is going to take that money when I pay, and it's going to go out of the area immediately. Whereas if I go to Dave's, getting my coffee and whiskey, it's going to go, hopefully, if Dave is local, it's going to stay local. That helps me. That actually circles back to, because maybe those people who work for Dave's might come use my business, or my friends or family's businesses or whatever. But it's going to, some of that money is going to stay in the community. Cyclically, from a microeconomic standpoint, that is good. And I get customers that come here and say, hey, I really want to use small businesses. That's why I sought you out over Caliber or Crash Champions or whatever. And we appreciate that, and it does matter. I think that if you want to kind of tap in on this, there's an opportunity for a small business, a small service business, and you can use this with your local ads, your social media. You could even have like a tagline in your communications. When you text somebody, you say, hey, buy local, or shop local. And people get it. They're like, oh yeah, there is another advantage of utilizing this company versus company Y. So there you go. So local buy, relaunch is really doing well, like I said, and I think that it's got a lot of legs and it could be used anywhere pretty much. So moving on from that one, let's go to number 2, social media. I don't use it. It's very powerful. Right now, when our time is being more spent on other things, but I'll tell you right now, it is. If I wanted to be tapping into the young demographic, let's say 18 to 25, 28, 29, right around there, TikTok could probably be where I'd be spending a lot of my time doing marketing. And I don't. We do a little bit of Facebook, a little bit of Instagram. The most we do is YouTube. And then of course we do paid ads. And there's a reason for that, which I won't get into, but there's a story of a cheese store, believe it or not, and he's in Beverly Hills, which is even like double kind of wacky. Cheese is, in Beverly Hills, but there is a lot of money, and that's a super premium vicinity, that area. But they weren't doing that well. And the store's been there for 57 years. And this, you can find this, I think it's on Business Influencer or something. I was reading the story. But what had happened was, I believe it was the guy's daughter started posting some of their stuff on TikTok. And then all of a sudden, his business was up like 30 or 40%. A lot of young people, of course, but it was getting shown on the feed to a lot of different people traveling in that are tourists into LA. Oh, we got to check out this cheese shop. Or local kids that want to try some different kind of food. Let's check out the cheese shop. Without doing that, I mean, he could do advertising, but that kind of product, that kind of service is, unless you're specifically looking for it, that's the only time that somebody could actually capture that business. And it's similar to what I do with Auto Body. When somebody needs us, they need us. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't actually catch more fish if I was fishing for people that utilize their services, but the intent's not as strong, not needed. For example, let's say they're doing more maintenance. They don't have a crash, but they have a dent or a scratch, or they want to polish their car, or do some preservation like paint protection film or ceramic or coating or something like that. So that's the opportunity where I could really lean in more on social media, and we really don't. Like I said, and you might be saying, well, why not, Brian? What's your problem? You lazy? And, I'm a lot of things. I hope people don't call me lazy. But like I said, you can only do so much. And I like to work on the levers that are going to move my business in the greatest direction forward that I can, have the most maximum impact, right? Social media, like I said, for some businesses, for the cheese guy, it made a lot of sense. I mean, 30 to 40% growth. I mean, he right here, I'm looking at his Instagram following went from 6,000 to 280,000 in a little over a year. With over 40%, business growth. So that's pretty massive. So what's the lesson? If you have a business that is somewhat visual, and my business is visual, and you can capture that on social media, it's at least a conversation to talk about and think about possibly utilizing that to help grow your business. And like I said, feel free to go research this and check it out. But if your business tends to be more on the visual side, is a plumbing business more on the visual side? Not so much. Not that you couldn't use it, and I'm sure people do, and to great success. But it'd be a little more challenging. You have to be a little more creative, right? The next one, let's talk about some trends. So right now, small businesses are being challenged in certain areas across the United States. So if you talk to AI, I think it's 20-something states are supposedly in a micro recession right now. The economy is a little bit crappy. And I'm not going to say, I know even where I'm at, I've had people come in here and get their cars fixed and say, I don't even have a job. I don't know why I'm fixing my car. It's like, yeah, why are you fixing your car if you don't have a job? Even other areas that are a little more economically depressed, I think it's a challenge for certain businesses, especially if you're not at the top of the needs, the hierarchy of needs, the Maslow's pyramid, if you will, if you know what the hell I'm talking about, which if you don't, no big thing. But every kind of business and service kind of has needs. We all need food, shelter, water, and then it kind of trickles down, right? And this business is, there's a need there, but it's not, the essentials. It's, a couple tiers below that. In a situation when the economy's kind of soft, that's where as a service business, you need to be a little extra creative. And I think in these areas, especially if you're in an area where the economy is down, I'm going to tell you right now what I would do. And I've done it where our economy locally is kind of been kind of crappy. So get out your crayon and buckle up. Number one, better ads. Check your ads, test your ads, A/B test, improve on your ads. If your ads are sloppy or they're just kind of just blending in with everything else, then what are you doing? You're wasting time. And you might be saying, well, I don't even know how to do that. Yeah, you do. You got AI. Use AI, have AI help you, and then test it and measure. If you test and measure and take the effort, you're going to improve. And that you're not trying to hit the home run. You're trying to get the base hits. Drop a bunt, get a little squeeze play, stay out of the double play, and you're going to be good. All right, a lot of baseball references. Don't worry about it. So there's that. You do better ads. Number two, you go for more higher intent ads and focus on that. Like I mentioned earlier, we were talking to Terry the Tinner. I said high intent, which is maps. When people actually need the thing now, you should be right in front of them and have your ads served at that point. I'd rather have high intent maps ads like looking for need a plumber near me. Okay, that search on Google versus somebody that's on Facebook and it's just swiping and all of a sudden sees a plumbing ad go by. I don't care how good it is, some sexy chick or some funny toilet thing or whatever. Great. But at the end of the day, that Google ad is going to bring people to you versus people laughing and not spending money. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you want? You want to entertain or you want to bank? Pretty simple. So better ads, more higher intent ads focus. And then lastly, but definitely not leastly, have various price offerings. And some people will just want to just go lower prices. And that's a bad move. That's a bad look. Let's say I had 2 tiers for my service. Maybe I offer a third where I'm giving less, but I'm also charging less. And it gives people the option, look, I'm on a budget, but I just need this X. If I have a little bit extra money, I would like to have Y, but right now is not the time. Let's just do X. I get that all the time here. People will say, you know what? I really don't want to paint. Let's just polish it or touch it up or just push that little damp, but let's leave the other stuff. Or you know what? Let's fix this side of the car. Let's leave that one for later. No worries. That's why I always give people options. Let them pick. Or they'll often say, can I have it all done for the price of just the one? No. That's the whole idea of me giving you options so you can stay within your budget and still improve on what you want to get done. Can you have your cake and eat it too? Not always. Okay. So there it is. Better ads, higher intent, and various price offerings. All right. The meat and potatoes of the episode. The idea, guys, right now, especially if you are unfortunately in an area where there's a recession, keeping an eye on your store. What gets measured gets managed. In other words, you will improve if you actually pay attention to it. It's a lot of people that just kind of go asleep at the wheel. And Terry, I'm sorry to call you out on this one, but your business is down 60%. So my gut feeling is that probably didn't happen overnight. It probably was something that happened over a pretty wide time horizon. And if you were on top of it, you probably would have had a more early idea of what's going on and course correct. So maybe I'm wrong. And I don't mean to pick on you, Terry. I apologize, but it just kind of, like I said, the number 60% and the economic kind of weirdness out in certain areas right now, you got to ask yourself, okay, what's going on, right? In other words, what gets measured gets managed. Keep an eye on your business. Measure what's going on. Track your results. If you need to poll your clients, poll them. If you don't already know what they like and what they want and what they value and what they respond to, find out. Because if you don't know that kind of stuff, you're just flying blind. And it's really important to know what moves the needle, what people really care about, what they're willing to spend, what they find wasteful, what they find attractive, what they find unattractive. Guess what? That's it. That's our December 13 episode. We've got, one more episode next week and before the holiday. And like I said, we're pushing hard at Denko. We're really trying to get some good numbers. And we're very thankful. Things have been busy. We've had some crazy clients this week. The last couple weeks I've had so many nice clients, but I will tell you a quick little story, and I had my warning. I had my red flag alert when he mentioned that he sued the last person he just dealt with. It wasn't a body shop, it was like another insurance company. I'm just like, oh shoot. And I was kind of already involved with him by the time he mentioned that to me. But in hindsight now, knowing how he rolls, I still at that point should have pulled the ripcord, because he had already really told me, anytime somebody talks about being kind of lawsuit crazy, I can't speak to what you guys feel, but that to me has always been a warning sign. Somebody that's willing to go hyper crazy and go get attorneys and sue people and instead of just roll through life with the punches, it says a lot. It says a lot. It's one thing if you're in corporate business and lawsuits are part of the game, but if you're just a school teacher, yet you just seem to be in lawsuits all the time, it's like, all right, probably a dangerous, bad actor, dangerous character there. So I'm hopeful. I mean, the repair for this gentleman came out fabulous, but he's just a hothead, and this is one of those kind of clients that ask for all kinds of free stuff, and in the back you can just kind of hear him saying, or lawsuit, or bad review, and it's like, man, I should have ran from this guy the minute I heard that. Like I said, luckily the repair is good, but man. And we had that one this week, and then we also had a lady that you could tell she was just really working hard for a free repair, and it was on a Cadillac out of all things, So when you deal with enough people, you're going to catch some bad seeds. You just are. You're going to catch some fresh apples, and you're going to catch some rotten. And that lady earlier in the week, then the gentleman just picked up his car today. who was happy with the repair, but I mean, give me an example. These windshield wipers weren't this way. What do you mean? I mean, it hasn't even been raining. We haven't been using it. Well, no, but that windshield wiper, that little wire hanging out, that wasn't that way. I just bought new windshield wipers and they weren't that way. Okay. This is a guy that's got bald tires, brakes that are grinding on metal to metal. It looks like a chicken coop inside of it with a bunch of nuts and seeds all over the floor. But yeah, you just did a bunch of stuff. And then he asked for his old parts back, which I thought was kind of unusual. No, we didn't keep your old parts. We threw them away. Well, what do you mean? They're my parts. I want them. I have a right to them. Not really. Not really. We bought new parts. You have a right to the new parts. The old parts have been chucked. If you'd requested prior, I probably could have put them aside for you, but they're gone. You never requested. It's not protocol to save all old parts for customers. Sometimes I'll keep old parts around just to prove to people if they're paying out of pocket that I replace the parts, just in case somebody's skeptical. Did you repair this part or replace it? No, I replaced it. Here's the old part. But on an insurance job where they've already paid out and the customer's not paying, no, we chuck them. And that was just an odd thing for him. And what he was thinking was he was going to try to sell the parts for extra money. It's crazy. And, oh, man, and like I said, I could go on and on about this client. But what's the lesson? When you work in the people business, like I said, you're going to catch some really nice, beautiful fish. And then when you're fishing, sometimes you got to catch some fish that you really just kind of want to throw back. Anyway, all right. Love you all. Have a fantastic week. Appreciate you. If anybody needs any help, text or DM. You guys have my contact info at 949-302-3464. And we'll catch you on the next SAI Marketing Podcast. Bye-bye.